In this tutorial, we'll be looking at how to sketch, extrude, and cut objects. Alternatively, you can extrude sketches to cut through objects. You're now going to follow a set of instructions to use sketching, extruding, and cutting to design a wrench to fit a nut and bolt. Begin by opening up the Lesson 2 file. This is the nut and bolt we'll be designing a wrench for. The first thing we need to do is determine the size our wrench needs to be. Head to Inspect, Measure. Now click once on opposite sides of the nut. The distance between them will appear in the Measure menu, and it's 15 mm. In the browser menu, you can see there are two components, one for the nut and one for the bolt. Let's make a third one for the wrench. Right-click on the top component and select New Component. Click on the new component once and then again, and then rename it as wrench. You might notice that the timeline is now empty. The timeline will show previous actions on the component that is activated. Ensure the wrench component is activated and toggle the visibility off for the nut and bolt. Click Create Sketch, and this will prompt you to select a plane to draw on. Go ahead and select the top plane. You've now entered the sketch environment. Let's draw the wrench profile which fits around the nut or bolt. Select the Center Diameter Circle tool. Click on the origin and start dragging out your circle. Type in 24 to set its diameter and then press Enter. Notice how a dimension appears. You can always go in and change this if necessary. Head into the Create drop-down menu and select Polygon, Inscribed Polygon. Drag out a polygon and click again to set it in place. Don't worry about the dimensions or position at the moment. These are constraint tools that help you to set relationships between elements of your sketches. You should use these as much as possible. You can hover over them for a description of their purpose. For example, we know that the top of our polygon should be horizontal, so we can apply the horizontal vertical constraint. We also know that the center of the polygon and the center of the circle should be on the same horizontal plane, so go ahead and apply the constraint by clicking on both points. This here is the Sketch Dimension tool. Select it and then click on the top and bottom sides of the polygon. Click to set the dimension in place and then type in 16, and this is 1 mm more than the length of the nut and bolt. Then press Enter to set the dimension. Drag the far left point on the polygon so it sits on the circumference of the circle. Click the Fix, Unfix constraint to secure the point in place. And notice how the sketch turns black, which means it's fully constrained, and this is something you should aim for in all your sketches. In the Modify menu, select Extend, and then click on the top and bottom lines on the polygon to extend them to the circle. Let's now draw the shaft. Select the Line tool and draw a horizontal line extending out from the circumference of the circle. Type in 65 and press Enter. Right-click in the canvas and this brings up the marking menu, which is home to common and recent tools. Select Repeat Line. Draw another horizontal line from the circle with a length of 65. Press D, the shortcut for the Sketch Dimension tool, and apply a 12mm dimension between the two lines. Now apply a dimension between the origin and the bottom line. With the dimension box active, click on the 12mm dimension, then type /2, and this sets the dimension to 12 divided by 2, which equals 6. Let's finish the sketch off with two circles. Draw a 17mm diameter circle. The circle's currently floating, so let's constrain it. We know it should be touching the two lines, so apply a coincident constraint between the circle and endpoints of the lines. Draw another circle with a diameter of 8mm from the center of the original circle. Great, the sketch is complete. Click Finish Sketch. We're now back in the Solid tab. Select the Extrude tool, and then click on the faces of the sketch that needs extruding. Type in 5 and hit Enter to extrude the faces. Then either press Enter again or click OK in the Extrude menu to complete the command. Congratulations, you sketched and extruded a wrench. Let's now use the Cut tool to embed some text. Start a new sketch and select the top face of the wrench as the plane to draw on. Select the Text tool from the Create menu and then click to position it. Type some text into the text field. Use the manipulators to rotate and position your text. You can change fonts and sizes in the text menu if required, and click OK once you're happy with the results. Right-click on the text and select Explode Text. This turns it into outline profiles. Finish the sketch, and then activate the Extrude tool. Select all the faces of the text. You could extrude them upwards by dragging the blue arrow. But see what happens when you extrude through the model downwards. Notice it go red. This means that operation type has changed to cut. Rotate your view to the bottom. Now change the extent to Object and select the bottom face. Click OK to accept the command. The cut will now be made. Right-click on the Extrude feature in the timeline and select Edit Feature. Let's change the extent to distance and set the distance to -1mm instead. Notice how the design is updated. Toggle the visibility of the nut and bolt back on, and then activate the top component. Head to the top view using the view cube, and drag your wrench so it fits around the nut and bolt. It should have a small gap on each side.